Lost in all this Thomas Castellanos and Grayson James news is just how darn dominant Donovan Ezeiruaku is.
You are Locked On Boston College, your daily podcast on the Boston College Eagles. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome. This is Locked On Boston College, your team every day. I am your host, AJ Black. I'm the editor and publisher of Eagle Insider. Thank you all who have joined us. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can play a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 bets in bonus bets if you get your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get yourself started. Before we get started, I want to shout out all of my Eagles nesters, all those folks that are part of my subtext. If you want to become part of that, join in the show notes below. But I want to say shout out to all of them. Now, today's episode, I want to get into some recruiting. We're heading into the home stretch of the class of 2025. I want to give you some updates on what's going on and some names that have been popping up and things that have changed. We'll get into all of that in the last segment. I'm also going to talk about the importance of this UNC game. There's a lot riding on this. I'll explain what that means to BC. And to kick it off, I have not done my due diligence in talking about how awesome Donovan Ezeiruaku is. This defensive edge rusher is currently fourth in the country in sacks. He's only 4 off the leader, someone from Marshall, and he's only 2 behind Antoine Powell Ryland from Virginia Tech, who I think had about 10 against BC when he played them. So why am I talking about Ezeiruaku? Because at the beginning of the season, I made it very clear that if BC's defense was going to take a step forward, they needed a star, someone who could make plays, someone who could disrupt and cause issues for offenses. And not in my wildest dreams did I expect Donovan Ezeiruaku to have the type of season that he's having. Because 2 years ago, he had 8.5 sacks. He looked great. Last year, he had, I think it was 2 sacks, and they were only against Virginia, and looked very much more of a pedestrian edge rusher. When you saw that, the first year, you're like, oh man, BC's got the next Harold Landry. This is going to be an awesome guy to watch it for Boston College. He's going to grow. And then the next year, it was like a huge letdown as BC's defense couldn't stop anything. And his pressure rate just went way down. This season, under new defensive coordinator Tim Lewis and obviously head coach Bill O'Brien, Ezeiruaku has become one, if not the best, one of the top 2 defensive edge rushers in the country, to the point where he is a finalist for the Walter Camp Player of the Year Award. He's a finalist or semifinalist for the Bednarik Award, which I believe Luke Kuechly won. And every single game, you watch the plays he makes, but also watch the plays where he just causes disruption, because every single play, it seems like Donovan Ezeiruaku is causing chaos in that backfield. Sometimes he doesn't get home, but even if you want to watch, like, go on Eagle Insider. Mitch Wolf does his game recaps, and some of the stuff that Ezeiruaku does that you don't see on TV is actually even more impressive, because he can make opposing tackles look silly. He can make opposing offensive linemen, and forget it if you're a running back or a tight end, you're going to have no chance. Remember what Jeremiah Franklin said at the beginning of the year, like, we just pray that we know that he knows the play ahead of time. He causes problems. So this season, listen to some of these stats that came out from Boston College today. He had a 2-sack game against Florida State, matching his entire total in his first game in that first opening matchup. Against Western Kentucky, he had 3 sacks. And he has had sacks in, I just saw it, hold on, 6 games. He's had 6 games with a sack, which means that, with 11 sacks, he's had multiple sacks in many different games. He is currently right now 3rd in the all-time leaders in sacks for Boston College. He has 24.5 in his entire career for BC. He's 1.5 away from Harold Landry. And Harold Landry had 26, and I want to say he had like 17 in one season. So this would be really cool for him to get that. Now, he has no chance. No offense to Ezeiruaku, unless he becomes the next iteration of Lawrence Taylor. He's 12 and a half behind, or 13, excuse me, behind Matthias Kiwanuka. That's not going to change. He's never going to catch up to him. But that's not what this point is. I wanted to get some stats because I thought they were kind of cool to look at. The for me, it's, when you get a good defender on your defense, it can make all the difference in the world. When you saw it with, I mentioned Harold Landry, it made guys around him better. Wyatt Ray was pretty good. You had Zach Allen, but they had some good players on that defense too. But you had Luke Kuechly. Luke Kuechly, I think, was basically that entire team. You've had these players that go through Boston College and are dominant defenders. And I never thought going into this, maybe I thought a little bit that Ezeiruaku would have the type of season that he's having, because he went from 2 sacks last year to, national award finalists contention, because he's having that kind of year. Now, there's a few things that have popped up. I saw, and I want to address this. I saw that Rhett Lashley was complaining about Ezeiruaku specifically for the way that he was twisting the ankle of Kevin Jennings. I don't know. I don't know if that's happening, but I've not seen it. Mitch said he might have seen it, but that's one piece that came up. The other piece that I think about while I'm getting all excited about Ezeiruaku and his play with BC is that he's gone after this year. And I'm a little concerned of what that's going to mean, because Quintavious Hutchins has done a really nice job, and I got to give him props for the way he's played and filled in, and took over the starting job from Neto Akpala. But he can't do what Ezeiruaku can do, in which you shouldn't assume he's going to do that. He's a good number 2 defensive edge, but that's the problem. There's no number 1 defensive edge next year that I've seen. Josiah Griffin, who's a redshirt freshman, I have not seen him play at all. You've had Neto Akpala, he's leaving. Edwin Kalengi, I don't know if he can do it, but maybe. This is going to be, to me, transfer portal need number 2 next to quarterback. The edge. Edge and quarterback are going to be the 2 positions that BC really needs to address in the transfer portal. And unfortunately, those are 2 positions that are going to be primo expensive. If you want to get someone who can make plays on defense, it's going to cost you money. So hopefully they get some of that back from Thomas Castellanos, as he didn't finish his season. So maybe they get some of that prorated money back. But I look at this as excitement, but also some nerves for next year, because Ezeiruaku has really been the glue for this defense, and you losing him, Cam Arnold, and Cam Horsley, your 3 real glue guys, you're gonna have to fill some holes, and edge, I think, is gonna be the biggest one. So just from now on, you have 2, potentially 3 games left of Donovan Ezeiruaku. If you do not watch defense closely, you're missing out, because he is an exciting player, and he's really made a huge difference this year. He won the Western Kentucky game for BC. That was how good he was. So in a moment, I want to talk about this UNC game, because it's very, very important, and I'll explain why it's very, very important in just a moment. Are you missing someone this holiday season and want them to be part of your festivities from afar? Maybe you have someone that it's hard to find, a good gift for your family, and you have young kids like I do. I love sending pictures to my family. The easiest way to do it, though, Skylight Frames. Skylight Frames has got you covered. If you're planning to celebrate this holiday with your friend group and want to surprise them, why don't you do something a little bit more special than booze or a gift card? Do a Skylight Frame. It's so easy to use. It sets up takes less than 60 seconds. It's seamless sharing, inviting friends and family to easily share photos via the free Skylight mobile app or email with no account or subscription applied. Add new photos directly from your phone from anywhere. It takes a tap of your phone to send new photos for your frame across the country. It's the fastest, easiest way to keep the loved ones in the loop. And now is a special limited time offer for our listeners. Get $20 off your purchase of a Skylight Frame when you go to skylightframe.com/college. That's SKYLIGHTFRAME.com/college. Get $20 off your purchase now at skylightframe.com. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL, all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page that you place your bets. With Thursday Night Football coming up, and there's some good action this weekend, you got to be able to go on FanDuel because they have everything, whether it's the prop bets for your players, the over-unders, the lines, the money lines, it's all there. And the live betting, it all goes as quickly as the game goes, so you can get the most current up-to-date odds and get your cash. So just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. This is Locked On Boston College. AJ Black here, and BC is playing a tough game. It's going to be. I said that Mac Brown said it was going to be a bloody affair. He called it a punch in the nose, bloody nose type of game. Which, given how Omarion Hampton and Kai Robichaux and Jordan McDonald have been playing, I think Mac Brown has been dead on, because this is going to be one of those drag out, who can win in the trenches type of game. Can BC establish that and get their passing game going? Or could UNC, who I don't think has a ton of more talent up, at the wide receiver and quarterback position, can they use Omarion Hampton to really get the offense clicking? Because they, it's a Mac Brown team. Mac Brown teams can score. But I look at this game, and there's a lot that I obviously want to talk about. First of all, the stakes are high for Boston College. They win this, they're bowl eligible. I think that's huge for BC. Like, you're going to play against a good team. They're already bowl eligible themselves. You can beat them. You have another 500 team that you beat. This would give you 5 wins at home. The first time that they have done that in, I believe, where is it? Sorry. I lost my note. It's first time that they've done it since 2018. Sorry about that. I had a little note for myself and I lost it. And this bowl eligibility, you could then, you win this, push up to try to get 7 wins. So a 7-5 regular season, given the schedule that you played, the fact that you lost Thomas Castellanos, the fact that you played, the back half with Grayson James, 7 wins would be quite the accomplishment for this program and really give you some momentum heading into the offseason. If they win one, that's okay too. I don't think it's the worst thing. I've seen people saying it's a failure and whatever. Look, 6 wins right now with the way that this roster is and the fact that Bill O'Brien's playing with Jeff Hafley's guys, I think is a win. Now, the interesting thing is that BC in the ACC, since they've joined the ACC in 2005, has never beaten UNC in a regular season game. They are, I think, 0-4 since they've joined the ACC. It's one of those teams they just never play against, but they haven't beaten them. This would give, I think they are the last team in the ACC that BC has not defeated since joining the conference, other than Cal and Stanford in terms of ACC games. Those, and SMU, those don't count. But the older teams, they're the last one. So this would be a nice win. This is going to be probably the last real home game for many of the BC students. So what better way to send them off with a nice win? The game against Pitt is on Thanksgiving weekend. It's a Saturday. Luckily, I don't know, maybe some kids will come back. It's a 3:00 start, so it's later. So maybe the students will want to come back for that. I mean, it's not noon. You can still get in and get to your, do your tailgating or go to the mods or whatever. But this is going to be a big one. And so BC, if they win, this would be the 8th time in 9 years that they've made a bowl. That, I think, isn't, it's on one hand, some folks are going to go, everyone makes a bowl. It's a toilet bowl. Who cares? Look, you get 15 more practices with your players if you make a bowl. In terms of developing your program, that is huge. If you really like the staff, if you like what they're doing, getting those extra practices is crucial to moving your team forward. So even if you don't care if they're playing in the Gasparilla Bowl or the Military Bowl or the Fenway Bowl or the Ramen Noodles Bowl or whatever it is, getting those practices with the staff and continuing to develop their players is big. You can't lose out on this. So you got to be able to beat them. Omarion Hampton is going to be a major challenge for BC. He is so good. He's an NFL level running back at the college level. And again, I've said this on previous episodes. BC has had some troubles against the run. You look at what DeBashel Tootin did. Look at what the running back for Mizzou did. They've had some games where it's not been pretty. So blocking, getting in there and getting off those blocks and stopping him is going to be absolutely critical. He ran for 244 yards last week against Wake Forest. So I look at this game. I don't want to say it's must win, but it would be a real big weight off the shoulders of this program if they could just win this. You get your bowl eligibility, you beat a really good, a good team with a very, very good player and a very, very good coach. That would really set the tone. But there's more at stake here because there is a recruit that's checking out, that is committed to BC that is also getting a lot of attention from UNC. I'll explain who that is and all the other recruiting news that you're going to want to know about for BC football in just a moment. Now, let me tell you about our good friends over at PrizePicks. You can now win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks with as little as 4 correct picks. PrizePicks is the best way to get action on sports in 30 states, including California, Florida, Georgia, and Texas. PrizePicks is the only real money daily fantasy platform. An injury insurance policy that your lineup stay even if one of your players get injured. It's that simple. PrizePicks is the place to get real money sports action. Just over 10 million users sign up today. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. PrizePicks also offers weekly promotions that can lead to big payouts like Taco Tuesday. Each Tuesday, PrizePicks discounts select player projections up to 25% to provide even more value for your picks. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONCollege to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, download the app today and use code LOCKEDONCollege to get $50 after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game. This is Locked On Boston College. I'm your host, AJ Black, and I want to thank all of you who have made Locked On Boston College your first listen every day. If you open up your podcast app and you smash that Locked On Boston College latest episode, you guys are the MVPs here. Thank you all. And if you're looking for a great second podcast, another listen to after you're done with mine, check out Locked On Celtics with John Corrales. The Celtics just beat the Cavaliers last night, and John has a lot to talk about. Make sure you check that out on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Now, recruiting is almost done. There's about another month left before, it's actually less than a month. I think it's 3 weeks until National Signing Day. And Boston College has had a little bit of changes in the way that their class has been structured. They lost 2 guys in the last week, Josiah Victor out of Grayson, Georgia, and Nolan James, their first commitment out of DePaul Catholic in New Jersey. Now, there's a new name that folks are starting to tremble about, and that is Jones County, Georgia, linebacker Zachary Thomas. And I'll tell you what I know about this. Zachary Thomas was another kid that committed to BC. He's a linebacker back in June after an official visit to Boston College. He was going to visit Georgia Tech, bailed on that. And I think he had another one that he was going to do too, but he ended up deciding to stay at BC. He has been strongly committed to BC since then. He has taken some visits, and not in the official sense. A visit can just be going to watch a football game. That's a visit. Okay. Like, so if you're living in Georgia and you go to a Georgia football game, that can technically be a visit. That's not the big deal. Those happen all the time. Sometimes players don't even know it. I can tell you there's some committed players elsewhere that have done visits at BC because they just went to a game with maybe a couple of their teammates or something like that. So I think that is not a big deal. What I get is that there's a lot of folks out there that saw what happened with Josiah Victor and Nolan James and are terrified, especially Victor. But I have to say this situation is very different. Victor clearly was shopping himself around, and his handlers were trying to find other offers to boost his value. You know, he took an official visit to at NC State. He visited Georgia. He visited Georgia Tech. He was very much liking the attention he was getting going into after being committed to BC. Now, I've said this before. I talked to the staff. I talked to people connected to that recruitment, and it was just recruiting can change on a dime. But for most of that, I had heard that Victor was, even though he was doing that, was very much still very strongly committed to BC until he wasn't, and then he's gone. Thomas isn't the same. Zachary Thomas is not shopping himself around. He's visiting UNC next week. And the only thing that he said, I saw an article on 247. If you want to check it out, sign up on my site. He said his buddy who's committed to UNC is going there, and he's just tagging along. It's very different than an official visit where they're rolling out the red carpet, or you have been specifically invited. Thomas has said all along that he wants to play far away from home. So if this was Washington or Hawaii that was offering him or visiting, yeah, maybe I'd be more worried. But everything I've heard and read is that Thomas wants to stay far away from North Carolina. So I think that's a big deal. Now, of course, I'm going to say this again. Things can change, but where things are at right now, I don't think he's a big he's not a flip candidate. Like I don't see him doing something like that. It just doesn't seem like that would be the case. So I'm not too worried about that. But again, things can change. This weekend is going to be a big visit weekend for Boston College. A bunch of committed players are coming, and it's more the 26s that they're starting to look at now. You know, there could be 25s that are committed elsewhere, but they won't tell me that. I get the list, and I would guess that they're edited out when they send them over to me on text. If there's a player that's committed elsewhere, because they really want to keep those quiet. So the names that you're seeing, if you go to Eagle Insider, I have 75 to 90 names, I think. There's a lot of interesting 26s that are coming, including our quarterback from Tennessee that I thought was really interesting, and then a couple of committed players. So you have Omarion Davis coming, and Dawson Poe. I need a pronunciation guide with him. They're all coming, so this is a big weekend for them, especially setting the bricks for the future. So keep your eye open on Eagle Insider. We'll have updates from any of this stuff. I will be at the game on Saturday. I will do a live post-game broadcast from the booth. On tomorrow's show, I'm going to have Mitchell Wolf on. Mitch is always great to talk about our previews and predictions for the game. You'll hear his thoughts and what he thinks is going to happen, and I get the sense he's going to pick them to win. Check out all my work at Eagle Insider. We have coverage right now on women's basketball, men's basketball, hockey. I think I'm going to be getting women's hockey started up soon. All of this just this winter, and then the spring should be more. We're having some great young BC students jumping in to learn and cut their teeth too to get some experience. So check that workout over there. Follow me on Twitter at AJBlack247. I'm also on Blue Sky. If you want to check me out on Blue Sky, you can use that too. I like it. It's kind of like a nice, clean social media platform. You can just look up AJ Black. I'm right in there. So thank you all for subscribing. To all my Eagle nesters, thank you again. I owe you a video. I should get you out one soon, and maybe we'll do a Q&A with them soon. If you want to sign up, code Bill O'Brien Monster, you get a full free month to check it out. Thank you all, and I'll see you all again tomorrow for another episode of Locked On Boston College, your team every day.